What's up? This is Rebel Radio.
What up? This is DJ Newmark.
This is Peanut Butter Wolf.
It's your boy. It's okay.
Keep checking out Rebel Radio.
Rebel Radio.
This is Rebel Radio.
We're in the place right here. Rebel Radio is going down.
Would you say Rebel Radio?
Oh, wait. Let's do it again.
Rebel Radio.
What's up, Rebels? Welcome back to Rebel Radio, the weekly show where I talk to the rebels who are shaping youth culture. We find out how they do it, why they do it, and what you can do to get a little piece of the pie for yourself. We're also the only show bringing you new music every week from the homies over at EDM.com. I'm your host, Josh Levine, and check it out. My guest this week is DJ Revolution. You might know him as the DJ from the world-famous Wake Up Show, the BET Master of the Mix Show, his many productions and mixtapes. He's a guest instructor at the Scratch Academy. We went over to Scratch and recorded this interview there between all the turntables, mixers, and all that great DJ energy. And we got some great stories from Rev about really just striving to be the best. He's competitive, he's driven. He tells us kind of how he's worked his way up from the ground to where he is today, being, named the favorite DJ of many of our favorite DJs. He also tells us about why he's always been solo instead of being part of a DJ crew. Really great lessons and great perspectives from DJ Revolution coming up on Rebel Radio right after our EDM.com track of the week. Check it out.
I wanna know what you know, where you been all alone. I hit your phone, you're not alone.
So that was Kevmo with Running Up, the EDM.com track of the week. Get over to EDM.com, check out new music. And right now, let's get into the interview with DJ Revolution.
You're trying to play me on the other side.
Well, thanks for doing this, man. I'm excited to chop it up with
pleasure,
you.
Man. I've been, I definitely have listened to the podcast a few times, man.
Right on.
So,
I mean, Scratch has represented, we had Hoppa on, we had Chaka on a while ago. This is definitely, part of our home, so appreciate you welcoming us.
Yeah, man, I just was, looking through all this shit that I missed when I was moving. There's like a whole 2 months of my life that just disappeared when I was moving. Because I had to move, build my studio again in the backyard from scratch, like at the building, we literally built a mini house in the back, and moved my whole family and my kids and all this stuff. So shit fell through the cracks, man. Of
course.
So, but I'm here now.
That's cool, man. Well, I'm excited to get into it. I've been following you since the Wake Up Show, and even doing some research. There's a bunch of stuff you're doing that I didn't even know about. And so I'm excited to talk about it.
Cool, man.
Tell me though how you got started. I know we were talking about coming from the East Coast and all that, but do you remember getting into music as a kid? Do you remember the first record you ever bought?
Yeah, the first record I ever bought was I want to say a Billy Idol 7-inch.
Oh shit.
Yeah, I think it was Rebel Yell.
Yeah.
And then I would just, at that point, I was taking allowance money. I was living with my grandparents at the time up in New Hampshire, and I was taking allowance money that I would get from doing chores, and I would go down to this place called the Dartmouth Bookstore, and in the basement they had a record store. And I was like 11 or 12 years old, so I was like, I want to buy records. My grandfather had given me a bunch of beat up stuff from his attic and told me how to hook it up, and I was like, this is amazing. I need to press buttons. I want to make music spin around and listen to it.
Yeah.
And more importantly, I wanted to be the cool kid, because none of my other friends were doing that in school.
Sure.
Like, who had turntables and records? So I would take my allowance money, go to the bookstore, and I'd buy pop rock records, because that's what was hitting in the 80s, Billy Idol, Madonna, I even shit like Twisted Sister and weird stuff,
I have a Billy Idol 7-inch. I think it was White Wedding.
And I had Van Halen albums, and then I started. That was my entry point. Was pop music. It was very accessible, and it was so big in the 80s, and I was very impressionable. Michael Jackson was just starting to come to get to the Thriller level, you know. So,
do you remember falling in love with hip hop for the first time?
Yeah, I don't know if it was like you could say falling in love with it, but the first time I was completely blown away, I was listening to, well, there was a couple of times. First time was I was living in New York and I went to this summer camp, and a bunch of the kids, you know, they broke out in the middle of the lunch recess. They broke out on the playground with the cardboard and shit, and hit the big boom box and just started going crazy. And it was the first time I saw that and heard the variety of different electro hip hop songs that were out that I had never been exposed to. All I had heard was like stuff that had been on the radio that had that tinge to it, like Shaka Khan and, you know, like Shannon and stuff like that. But I was hearing like Nucleus, and then I was hearing like Mantronics and all this other stuff that I didn't know about. I was like, oh shit, there's more of this stuff? Yeah. Okay, got to do some research. And plus the way that they were, you know, spinning and, you know, just having an incredible time with this music, and everybody was just so smitten with it, you know?
Man, you're taking me back.
Yeah, and so...
I remember those days vividly.
Yeah, and so, you know, it made you want to get the cardboard, even though I was terrible at it, but I did, you know, I tried. But
do your best, right?
So that was one moment. That I think the more impressionable moment was when I was living in New Hampshire once again, and I was listening to a college radio station, and they played The Adventures of Grandmaster Flash on the Wheels of Steel, but they didn't play it when, it was out. It was like a throwback, it was like a classic. You know, that's an old record, but I had never heard it because I was 12 years old. Right. So that record came out probably when I was like 7 or
80.
You know, something like that. So anyway, I heard this and I heard the record. I recognized the songs that they were playing, but then when I heard the scratching on top of it and two records playing together and then these sound bites and snippets, I just was over at that point. I was like, why isn't everyone else talking about this? This is incredible. Who did this? Yeah. And that was the entry to the rabbit hole right there. Okay. That was what made me just say, all right, fuck all this other music that I was listening to. They're making new music with already existing music on, I don't know, the whole thing just blew me away. Yeah. And that was it, you know? Yeah. So I don't know if it was the point that I fell in love with it, but that was the point that kind of took me down that road for sure. That's big. Yeah.
Yeah, that's big. And then who put you on the turntables first?
Well, you know, I was quote unquote on turntables at that time when I had heard those records, you know, when I was going down and spending my allowance money, but it was mismatched. There was one old techniques and then one realistic, and my grandfather built me my first mixer out of scrap metal in his workshop. He was a master electrician. So I watched him build it and weld it and and he showed me all the wires and the transistors and all that. So I had turntables, but it was far from what people think of conventional DJing. I was just pressing start and stop. Right. But then after that... But
were you playing for people?
I was playing for people. Okay. I was playing for my 6th grade class. I did like the year-end party. Yeah. I set up 2 Fisher-Price turntables with the speakers on the back. You know, the ones you flip open and the speakers on the back? So I had 2 of them back to back, and I was playing all my 7 inches out the window of the classroom.
Incredible.
While people were having like sandwiches and stuff. Right. And then I played like my friend's birthday party. He was turning like 13 or something, and that was the first time that I hardcore denied a request, and it was his birthday request. And he just started bawling when I just wouldn't play the record.
What was the song?
I don't even remember what it was, but it was something that I was just not going to play. Yeah. But anyway, then his mom came over to me, and it was a big scene and everything. And anyway, so I was already playing for people, and I was making mixtapes, if you want to call them that, for my classmates as well, because, again, they didn't have turntables. Right. They didn't have to know how to record the music, where to find it. Everything that a DJ was supposed to do, I was already doing. I just didn't know I was supposed to be doing it. Yeah. So I was recording the mixes, and for instance, somebody would come to me and be like, hey man, I like this song, and this song. Can you make me a tape? Cool. Came back 2 days later, here's the tape. Where's my $10? Yeah. Bam. So I just started hustling, you know, very early on. So I was playing for people, but not in the sense that you might think of what a hip hop DJ is. So definitely was in front of people, fake talking on the mic, like I was pretending to be an announcer and shit. All the stuff a kid would do.
Yeah.
If you give him the right tools and a room by himself.
Absolutely.
So, I was having fun, man.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah, it was fun.
When did you realize that this was going to be your career? Was there like a first break?
It wasn't one moment or one series of events. It was kind of like over a couple of years, things that people were saying to me, things that were happening to me. When I would get on in front of people, even just in like project community halls, like I would go play in some grimy ass projects, and they would we'd rent out the community hall in the projects and just have jams, or rent out an armory in some shitty town and have jams, and there would be a lot of people there, and it was all amazing feedback.
Yeah.
And I was young too. I was like,
it's just fun.
Yeah, I was like, man, okay, this is better than I thought it would be. And I was already starting to make money, but I had no aspirations to like make it my career. But it was a series of gigs on top of a series of things happening in my life. People telling me all the time when they would hear me come over to my house and they would hear me scratch, they'd be like, man, you need to be making records, man. What the fuck are you doing in this town? Like, get out of here.
Yeah.
Just take this somewhere else, You need to be on records, because I would be showing off like new scratches to people, and I was like 15, and I was like scratching over Jazzy Jeff's records, but doing it better than that was on the record, and they were blown away, and I was like, yeah, all right, you're hearing it too. It's not just me. So I started to sink in, like, damn, I need to chase this down.
Sure.
Because I was pretty good pretty early on, and I wasn't like, I need to make this my career. I just didn't want to do anything else, So I had to kind of find a way to turn this into something. And I didn't want to go to college. I didn't want to go, I didn't want to go to high school. I was already making more money than a lot of people's, aunts and uncles and big brothers, because I was hustling. I had a job. I was, DJing. So, it was teaching me things. I was getting a lot more satisfaction from it than just money and attention.
Sure.
I was learning, I was learning about life, learning about different cultures, people, learning how to make music. So it was just giving me everything. So I just had to find a way to flip that into what I was going to do for the rest of my life, one way or another.
Yeah.
Whether it was DJing, producing, mixing records, mastering records, something had to circle around this, That was the sun. I had to be in the orbit,
Right. Yeah.
So.
And so when did that start to feel like a reality? So that was the vision, right?
Yeah.
But when did you see like, oh, okay, this can actually work?
When I got out here and I started to see, what I was doing get some traction. When I got on the radio and people started paying attention, like immediately.
That's our wake up show.
Yeah. Even before that, I would send tapes around. Like the first time I got on the radio out here was on Julio G's show.
Yeah.
Him and his talent manager for the show invited me on the show because I think they heard a tape from somebody somewhere. I can't quite remember how they traced it back to me, but somehow I think it was Zenobia. Zenobia was the person that was running his booking guests and stuff. So I was on the show and I did well, and then people started paying a little bit more attention to me. I started circulating tapes. I was just popping up at everybody's club gig, dying to get on. Yo, let me get on for like 10 minutes. Let me get on for like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And I was just doing that all over town, just trying to put my face around, hanging around with people. And then when people started liking it and liking me, and I started building friendships with people around town, I started to feel real, but it didn't really take hold until I got on the Wake Up Show. When I got on the beat.
So for people that don't know the Wake Up Show, right? Like I've been listening to it. I listened to it all the way through. How do you describe? When you meet people now that don't understand the Wake Up Show, like how do you describe the significance of that show?
It's very it's difficult if they don't have any other points of reference either. Like if they don't know what Stretch and Bobbito's show was.
Well, we had Stretch and Bobbito on the show.
Yeah, so if you don't know what they did, because if someone had never heard of the Wake Up Show and they had heard of Stretch and Bob, you'd be like, you know what, Stretch and Bob, right? Well, it was kind of similar.
Yeah. But it was West Coast.
Yeah, but it was on the West Coast, and then it got syndicated, and we took it all over the world and did tours and stuff, and so it definitely grew longer legs. But that is a point of reference. You never heard Future Flavors, Molly Mall, Pete Rock. You never heard,
Of course.
So if they don't know that, it's hard because.
But I think to me, it's like this was a time when hip hop wasn't everywhere.
Yeah.
Right. When if I'm a little bit older than you, but if you're of a certain generation, it's like you walk into a room and there's the other hip hop kid.
Yeah,
and you form a bond over that, right? Whether
Absolutely.
It's the sneakers or the hat or just
bonds are tighter too.
Yeah, for sure.
Because they're not fleeting,
right?
Because there was no industry.
There's no industry, and there was no growing up, going to high school as a hip hop kid, that wasn't the norm. You were an outlier.
Definitely. Oh,
right,
for sure.
And so those shows were so important because they spread the culture, right?
Yeah.
And if you didn't live in a major city, LA, New York, San Francisco, whatever, then that was your only way to hear that music and to participate.
Those tapes, man. Getting those tapes. When I was on the East Coast, not living in New York, the way I got my music was tapes from New York.
Yeah.
All the mixtape DJs, Kid Capri, Tony Touch, Doo-Wop, SNS, Juice, like all these guys that were making tapes. Ron G, all those guys. I got all the new music from them.
Sure.
Way before like Clue and all those guys started selling a shitload of mixtapes.
Yeah.
So before the radio show, it was the mixtape. And then out here on the West Coast, on the beat, that was it.
Yeah.
Power was into the hip hop commercially before the beat. Yeah. But when you think about hip hop in LA and where things started, it was that. So when Sway and Tech came down from the Bay and started their show here in LA, it definitely changed the landscape a lot. They had their own share of things that they had to deal with being outsiders to LA as well.
Of course.
But
I'm sure.
That show, man, it traveled so far and wide, and it struck a chord with so many different people on so many different levels, on the DJ level, the music level, the education level, knowledge about, the industry and how things worked and how things got broken down. For me, that was my college and still is, still doing it. But it's like at the end of the day, like you said, before there was, quote unquote, the internet, that was it. That show here on the beat, and then on Power, and then on the internet, and now on Shade 45, is still doing the same thing. It's still curating and filtering music for the masses that still appreciate that style of music that they can't find anywhere, because it takes a lot more to find it.
Yeah.
Now you have to. You got to cut through so much noise to be able to find it.
Right.
So. It's still doing the same thing.
So how did that show change the game for you?
I mean, in almost every way imaginable. I mean, 1 minute I'm not on the radio, next minute I'm on the biggest fucking show on the planet in regards to hip hop. While it was still getting bigger. It's not like I got on it when they were at the absolute pinnacle. Like we rode, I got on the escalator a couple of stops up.
Yeah.
And we just kept riding it.
Yeah.
And the way we all gelled when I came in and became part of the crew, that also changed the way the show went.
Okay.
Because they're such artists that they respect other people's art, and they respected what I was trying to bring to the table. And after I got my foothold in there, we became a team.
Yeah.
At first I was just learning the ropes.
Right.
But then
you start to find your way.
Yeah, how do I do this radio thing? Like, it looked cool from the outside, but now, what the fuck? I'm really on it, and these two dudes are not fucking around.
Yeah.
So I need to bring everything I got to the table. And it changed the game for me in a lot of ways. I had never been like a team player until that point.
Okay.
I was a soloist. I never was a part of a crew. Still not any part of any other crew ever.
Right. Why is that?
Kind of what we were talking about offline, man. I don't want anybody knowing what I'm doing. And I don't want anybody sounding like me.
Okay.
I don't want to sound like anybody else.
Yeah.
So if there's ideas that we have and we can collab on, come on over to the studio, let's build, and then you could be on your way.
Okay.
But you're not part of my crew.
Right.
I'm not part of your crew, you know?
Is that, step outside yourself for a second, has that helped you, hurt you, or neither?
I think early on it really helped me because it definitely made me sound completely unique in whatever I was doing.
Yeah.
I don't want to say it hurt me, but I definitely feel like I lost out on learning opportunities and being a better artist and musician by not having that collaborative session with people or like just building, you know. A lot of that was immaturity, and I was just so nose to the grindstone, tunnel vision, gotta get my weight up.
Yeah.
And I don't want anybody dragging me down because
Right.
I didn't know anybody else.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, you know. I also didn't want to, you know, be the tide that made all the other tugboats rise to the top. You know, if I happen to be, you know, blowing up and these cats are riding coattails, I didn't want to have that happen either.
Okay.
But anyway, yeah, so, you know, once I was on the show for about a year, I started to figure a lot of things out about the music business.
What would you say was one of those big lessons?
Is that if you don't capitalize on radio or an opportunity very quickly, then all you are is that. You're just the radio. And I don't want to say that my situation was like any other DJ on the radio, because it wasn't. We had lives that were rooted in music outside that radio show. But, you know, I've seen a lot of DJs be on important radio shows come and go, you know, and they didn't make a name for themselves outside that radio show once they got on, and then they quickly disappeared once that was gone. So I learned that very quickly. So as soon as I got on, I started thinking about I need to make records. I need to be on people's records. I need to collab with artists. I need to keep on leapfrogging and building and, you know, being a part of the business, because I was horrible at it, man. At the business, I didn't want to be a part of the music business. The music business sucks.
Yeah.
You know, I was a DJ that just happened to get lucky enough to be in the right place at the right time, and then they were like, hey, you can be on our show. And I'm like, this is fucking awesome. And then they're like, oh, but by the way, you also got to be in the music business.
Right.
So I had to learn that very quickly. So, you know, being a part of the music business changed my whole life, learning from that.
What do you think you learned from Sway and Tech?
Man, what didn't I learn from Sway and Tech? I mean, these guys already had 5 years in the business on me before I even stepped out here. So, you know, they were doing major label deals in the Bay, winning battles, you know, already on the radio, going through a whole laundry list of things that I had never experienced.
Sure.
So it was like a crash course with like masters already at it, you know? I learned so much from Tech in like the first 2 years that I met him and Prince Ice that I became like a completely different person. They're the first people that Tech is the first person that introduced me to digital music production.
Okay.
Digital recording. Started teaching me about frequencies and EQs and all the stuff that he went to school for.
That's big.
How to mix a record, what to do with certain things, what frequency you need to tweak your snare at, you know, like how do you record the vocals? Or maybe you should, when you go out and DJ, maybe you should try and do it this way. I mean, I could never stop talking about all the shit that I learned from Tech.
Yeah.
I still learn from Tech.
Sure.
And, you know, and I just learned so much from Sway on the human side, because that guy is like, he's such a pure human being, you know, and he just loves hip hop and just loves what he does. And I learned things from Sway that I could never learn from Tech, because Sway is such a people person.
Sure.
He's the hip hop politician, hip hop mayor, you know.
Yeah.
And I watched him bob and weave his way in and out of so many situations that there's no way I could have ever gotten in or out of, that it gave me an education. It gave me it was like taking a course at college or something, in like human studies or social studies or human behavior, and like how to dodge this, how to duck that, what you should say, when you should hold your tongue, when you should speak your mind, this and that. I still am to this day very hot-headed, and I wear it all on my sleeve, and but that got me in trouble in the music business early on. So they had to kind of take me in and be like, listen here, dude, this is not the time and place for that. We need to wait for that, So I learned politics. I learned very valuable life lessons a lot that saved me from a lot of interesting situations. But
can you? I'm sure there are a lot, but give us a favorite memory from the Wake Up Show in those early days.
I mean, the one that I always talk about is in my first time up there. It's when, Tech was like, "Hey man, come on down and play a couple of records." It was kind of like a test, just do like a 20-minute set, no problem. I'm like, okay, cool. So I get a bunch of random records, like old school shit I'm gonna play, and I'm just gonna get up there and cut it up and have a good time. So I show up, and without any word from Tech, I walk in and there is Qbert, Mixmaster Mike, Apollo, Vin Rock, Babu, J-Rock, Repmatic, Shortcut, Mixmaster Mike, Rock Raider, Rob Swift.
Damn.
I mean, everybody.
Yeah.
All in the same room. And they're all gonna DJ and do battle routines. And Sway makes me goes first.
Yeah.
And on top of that, he gets up when I'm getting ready to go on. They had just recently become syndicated, and that's why they were looking to, have another DJ come on, because the guy that was on before me, Prince Ice, had to take on some other responsibilities for the show, so they were kind of auditioning. So I came on, and then Sway gets up when I'm ready to go. He's like, yeah, but so-and-so, doing his announcer thing, and then he's like, yeah, we're on in front of 8 million people in 7 different cities, so Revolution, don't screw it up.
Oh shit.
Go. And then I just had to go, It was like sink or swim moment.
Yeah.
How you gonna handle that?
Yeah.
So that was my first time at the show. That was the first time I ever came up to meet them.
So what do you think what was it that allowed you to swim and not sink in that moment?
Well, I think that point was the moment that I realized it's so good that I have not been down with the crew. I've been studying my craft in solitude for so long that when someone gave me the chance, I was fully ready to do everything, not just DJ. I was ready to get behind the decks on a major radio station with people that I hadn't really met, but we had such tight common bonds. I was, ready to be a part of a team because I hadn't for so long. I was ready to do what I had been imagining myself doing for so long. Like, it's been in the back of your head. When someone gives you that opportunity, you're just like, how can this not be what I'm gonna do? How can I not nail this,
So everybody on that list you told me was auditioning.
No, they weren't auditioning. They were there performing.
Oh, okay.
They were doing a showcase.
Okay.
Because, it's interesting, man, because a lot of those guys, as long as I've known them, they don't do radio shows.
Right.
A lot of them are very, very specialized. Qbert, Shortcut's a well-established club DJ, tours the world, but no radio, doesn't really do too many mixtapes, doesn't get in the studio with artists. And I was already at the time when I got on that show ready to do as well at all those other things that I just mentioned as I was DJing. So for that whole time leading up to me getting on the show, I was practicing my production skills by myself, practicing making multi-track mixtapes. And that's one of the things that got me that audition was one of my multi-track mixtapes. So I had been practicing so much because I knew that whatever somebody gave me a chance at doing, I was gonna do that shit to death.
Right.
And it was gonna get me my shot. No matter what somebody gave me, I was gonna do it and score a touchdown.
So, thinking about that, and I was watching some old Master of the Mix, watching you on that show, and it was cool, but it was a weird show.
Yo, it definitely was a weird show.
And I have a few friends that were on it, and but But it's weird because there were a bunch of whole different types of DJs. You know, you had Rich Medina,
Yep.
you had you had
Scratch,
Scratch,
yep.
you know, you had DJ Rev. Like, you know, I remember her, you know, I was friends with her and she was like, why'd they have me on that show? Like,
Right.
it's a total mismatch. And, you know, if you think about, you know, you could even go beyond that show. There's so many different types of DJs. Like the word DJ can mean so many different things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? And you know, Danny Tenaglia is the best at what he does, but that's an entirely different thing than what you do, or Qbert, right? Whatever. So, how do you describe your style and your approach to DJing?
I mean, it would be too vague for me to even say well-rounded, you know. But I am I don't know, you know, when I have to introduce myself to people here at Scratch, to new students, and give them a breakdown of what I do and who I am, you know, there's a long list of things that I've done.
Sure.
But I'm like the everything DJ.
Okay.
So, and when, I don't know, I just love everything so much. I didn't want to just do one thing. That's why I never got into battles. I didn't want to just do that. I didn't want to spend 7 months out of my year
battle
preparing.
DJing is super specialized, right?
Right.
You
I didn't
can't-
want to narrow it. I didn't want to be that narrow-minded when it came to what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. Because what if that didn't work? You know,
Right.
I wasn't going to be that guy that spent 3 years and change training for the Olympics,
Right.
and then, you know, get in there and then come in 4th place.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to be that guy. So I learned to soak up knowledge wherever I found it and incorporate it into what I do. You know,
So you're the all-around player.
pretty much that would be the best way to describe it. Yeah, because I mean, there's not really anything that I can't do. You know, if you gave me 6 months, I would be able to put that together a battle routine for sure, and still get up there and hang with the best of them. I have no doubt about it. But I could also go to any radio station, commercial, underground, whatever it is, and get on and not only be the DJ. I could probably program the station.
Right.
I could probably GM the station because I had so much experience in radio, you know. Same thing with, it's like, you know, the studio knowledge too. Recording, producing, mixing, all the stuff that I've learned. I didn't want to just be the DJ. It just got boring after a while. You know, there's only so many times you could blend records together before it starts to get like, man, what else can I do here? Like, there's got to be something else to do here.
So some DJs kind of use that as a stepping stone to production.
Yeah.
Right.
Most notable DJs anyway, you know, Premier, Pete
Right.
Rock, Molly Mall, like, you know, even, you know, all the way up till now, Scratch, everybody. So it's a natural progression because once you start to understand what DJs do and how hip hop DJs, you know, started reinventing what the turntable was meant for, then you start to see, okay, this is how I can incorporate my ear into, and my take on hip hop or music in general into producing. You know, like, I like all the beats that these other guys are making, but I want to do my own thing.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. So you're a great DJ. I've seen it. I've heard it. You know, we're talking about all these other great DJs. You're around hundreds or thousands of terrible to good DJs. What's the difference? What's the difference between a good DJ and a great DJ?
Well, I think one of them we were already talking about, and that is being able to do a variety of things and have very open minds. You know, and that means in terms of music, in terms of being able to, there's so many new types. It's not just 2 turntables anymore, you know?
Right.
There's mixers that can do amazing things. There's, you know, pieces that you can add to your setup that do incredible things. So incorporating technology, being a showman, being, you know, when you're on the decks, you know, connecting with the crowd. I mean, there's a lot of things that make a great DJ. There isn't really one thing that I could cite as the difference, but for me, ultimately, it's just experience.
Yeah.
It's just time, you know. The difference between me having 30 years on and somebody that even at 10 years, has a level of mastery that's far above the beginner.
Sure.
That extra 20 years I got, that is going to remain the gap between me and them forever.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of, where I'm at with it. But, great DJs do a variety of things. They're able to live the life and understand what you can do as a DJ. You're exposing music to people. You're the entry point to a lifestyle for a lot of people, I tell that to people here, you're going to be the first person that they've ever heard scratching. Younger kids that are turning 21 today are going to go to a club tonight and hear scratching maybe for the first time.
Right.
It's going to be you. Do you want to be sloppy? How much do you care about what you're doing?
So dig into that because, we're in this era where technology can do a lot of this for you. I guess could do all of it for you if you let it, right? And so, when we were coming up, it was not uncommon to go into a club and hear a bad DJ.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now I think that's, I don't know, maybe it's because I'm not in the clubs that much, but it's a lot less common. I think the average is better. Forget about skill, but it sounds better, right? Because because the technology can help you beat match. You don't hear train wrecks the way you used to. You don't hear, right? And so
yes and no, because I definitely am in the clubs a lot more.
I'm sure you're a lot more than I am.
And I have people here and so many DJ friends that always report back to me. That's kind of like my job is to tell them, hey, when you go out, I need the reports, man. Who did you see and how was it?
Yeah.
And so in regards to what you're saying, I would agree that the ratio of train wrecks to good mixes is better, probably.
Yeah.
Because it's been around a lot longer, and we as a community have had time to hone it, perfect it, break it down as a science, and it's also penetrated mainstream culture in a way that it hadn't when we were coming up.
Sure.
So we had to fight a lot harder to get that mix right.
Of course. Well, and people that are learning from you, you had to learn it from listening to mixtapes.
Right, listening time.
Figure it out, right? Kid Capri wasn't there to show you what to
definitely
do, right? And correct you when you went wrong.
Right.
But you're standing here over somebody's shoulder helping them go through it.
Yeah,
so it advances the art.
Definitely. Right? But taking that away from it, even if that wasn't the case, even if there was no DJ schools anywhere on the planet, there's enough on the internet, there's enough DJs in clubs, there's enough clubs where, that is a hot commodity, billing a DJ with a top name that has some skill.
Right.
There's
so much more access.
You can see it a lot, whereas I couldn't see it a lot. Even when I was old enough to get into the clubs, I would go and see the same shit you would see. I'd be like, man, this shit is whack. That dude is terrible, So I think because people are seeing it over and over again at a certain level, the bar has been raised. But, I don't want to let that get in the way of what has gone on, which is there are so many people who are comfortable just being at the bar level.
So that's my question is if you can get away with being good enough.
Right, that's what's happening. That's exactly it.
So what do you tell students or young DJs that you meet? Why should they work that much harder to be great?
Well, I don't know. Sometimes I have a hard time reconciling that, man, and how to break that down to people, because when I decided, you asked me earlier, when did I decide it was going to be my career? It wasn't even about me deciding it was going to be my career. It was going to be what I was going to do for the rest of my life, whether it was my career or not, So that is where my path diverges with a lot of these younger generations. And even people that are in my generation and previous, they didn't have that. They're like, I'm cool. I just want to be a DJ. I can make some money. I can have, I can drink on the job. I can talk to hot chicks. I can travel. That's good enough. Yeah. That was never my intent. My intent was, I'm going to take this as far as I can possibly take it. I want to be the absolute best of all time, undisputed, hands down, and I will not stop until every person on the planet tells me that. That was me.
Okay.
You know? So
Yeah.
I don't have people that come in here with that as a goal.
Right.
So it's, you
Sure.
know, I have to tell them, like, so you're asking me, you know, people who want to be just good enough, how do I explain to them that that isn't enough? And it's very hard because my answer would be, well, you know, it's like, okay, so you take a cooking class or you take a knitting class or whatever, right? You take it for a year, right?
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't at the end of the year, and all your friends know you've been taking it, right? Your whole family knows, your friends, your girl, your whatever, your kids, everybody knows you've been taking a cooking class.
Right.
And all you do is talk about the cooking class. You go out and you know, eat all the time and you sample and you do homework and it's your life for a full year. You're getting ready to graduate. You get your certificate. You go and you're like, hey, everybody, I'm having a big celebratory meal. Come on over. I'm going to cook for everybody. And it's a big shindig. And then you get to the meal and I eat your food and it is just average.
Right. Sure.
So my point is, if you're going to spend time on something, why not spend time to be great at whatever it is you're spending your time doing? That's how I break it down to them. And that's, you know, the difference again between a good and a great DJ is the great DJ is going to spend more time, go the extra length to line up that mix perfectly instead of just letting them kind of flop around in the mix.
Yeah.
The great DJ is going to take the time to curate the perfect playlist. The average DJ is just going to get a bunch of songs that are the same BPM and just kind of wing it.
Right. Yeah.
So, you know, it's very hard to explain that to people who have no idea what I'm talking about because that's not a part. The DJ is not attached to the culture that we grew up on like it.
Yeah, sure.
Now it's not.
Sure.
It's detached.
And now that I hear it, I don't think you can explain that to people. I think because it's about what you're in it for. If you went to cooking school because you were trying to be the next Wolfgang Puck,
right?
That's a whole different game, right?
Than just taking it. Oh yeah, I think I want to see. This looks
wanna,
cool. I want to do that.
Make something cool for my wife or whatever,
right?
Right.
Or I want to be able to DJ my parties,
right?
My own parties.
Yeah.
Okay, cool, man. You know, we can do that too.
Yeah.
But that's not where I come from.
Right. Yeah.
So me and you, we're only gonna go so far.
For sure.
And that is happening. That has happened with so many of my peers and so many of my friends that I've seen come up in the DJ world. They stop.
Right.
They stop chasing it down.
So what makes you keep going?
The same thing that, you know, started me off. Number one is my love for what I do. You know, I love music, like, you know, it just is, you know, it's my life. Yeah. And what I now know that I can do with this music on the production side, on the DJ side, I've gotten to a level where I know that I can do anything that I want. Anything I can imagine, I can do it. So that's what keeps me going. I have the knowledge, I got the skill, I have a name and a brand that I can, you know, use to help propel all those ideas into the world. So why wouldn't I stop? And that's the thing that confuses me about a lot of the DJs is that like they have a lot of the same things that I just mentioned and they're just comfy. They're cool just playing a couple of gigs a week.
Right.
You know, they don't want to make any music. They don't want to do anything interesting. They don't want to flip it up in a new way. They don't want to, I don't know, maybe they just stopped. Maybe they never had the same dream. And this is, again, you know, maybe this is my fault for assuming that everybody that came up as a DJ back in the day had the same ideas that I did.
Sure.
But, you know, it's like the kid who was playing baseball, you know, since he was 5, finally gets a shot in the major league. Is he just going to get in the major leagues and just bat the fucking ball? Or is he going to be the next big shit? He's going to be the next Derek Jeter? Is he going to be like, you know, go down in the Hall of Fame? Because that's what I'm trying to do, go down in the Hall of Fame.
So that seems like I mean, I get it. And also it seems exhausting.
It is exhausting.
And so are there moments when do you get to feel like, okay, I've accomplished, maybe not done, but like I've accomplished what I've set out to do?
Yeah, yes and no, you know, because as time goes on and you continue to do this, new things come up that you want to
Sure.
accomplish.
Yeah.
Ideas. But
I'm asking, do you get to celebrate along the way?
Yeah, you definitely get to celebrate along the way. There's, if I didn't get, victories along the way, I definitely would not be doing it the same way, I don't know, man. Maybe I'm just built differently or I'm just deranged. I don't know. Maybe I'm just insane. But my drive is just nonstop.
Yeah.
It is just nonstop. And, a lot of people aren't able to be in a position where they can choose where they're like, hey, all right, I'm going to stop doing gigs for a while. I'm just going to work here. I'm working here for a bunch of years, but I'm getting more out of it than just work here. Right? This is feeding my soul. It's educating me, making me a better person, better DJ for sure. And I don't know why that when I'm looking around, I see these things and all my other peers don't. Maybe they do. Maybe they're just looking at me like I'm an idiot. It is tiring, man, because it never stops. I go from here back to my studio. I wake up the next day, do something completely different.
Are you still doing the cut?
Still doing the cut, yeah.
Okay.
It's been on hold for a couple of weeks, but
man, I watched the Crazy Tunes
that's a funny
episode.
one. That's a good one.
Tunes was I was managing Dub C.
Yeah.
I spent 3 years with those dudes, and I love that dude. And
he's a great dude, man. He was, man. I just, it was just so funny.
That was cool to watch.
It was just so funny being able to show somebody like that.
Yeah.
Somebody that I grew up, looking at as part of a world that I wanted to get into, and then all of a sudden he's at my house and I'm showing him a whole bunch of shit. It was again, there's the victories, there's the things that I can say, I accomplished that, or I did this. I was on first hip hop DJ mix show on the network, whatever. Mm-hmm. So there's things like that I can say, but there's nothing, there's nothing to me that says, all right, you're done, this is it. You know what I mean? Like, cash out. So
what's next?
A lot of things, man. I'm working on a lot of stuff in the studio. I think, I've learned so much here in the 6 years and change that I've been teaching, skill-wise, production-related stuff, business stuff, that I'm ready to do something big. It's got to be big, I go through these things about every 10 years. It just builds up, man.
Okay.
And so an album comes out.
Nice.
Or a project comes out, I took a couple of years off from doing DJ tours because I needed to, quite honestly, I needed to put some money on the books for the government so I could buy a house.
Sure.
They need to see some recording income.
DJs
don't really like to record income.
That's important.
So, there's a victory for me. Buying a house was a big deal for me because it's pretty hard as a DJ unless you're, fucking Calvin Harris, to just, be able to, walk in and buy a house. It's tough. Even an average person with a regular income has a hard time buying a house. So for me, it was like, man, I was just fighting this uphill battle. Mm-hmm. So finally being able to do that was cool. So, now that that's accomplished, I got my studio back up and running, things are in motion.
Nice.
But whatever I got to do, it's got to be groundbreaking and earth-shattering because I don't see myself being able to continue to grow if I just keep doing the same thing I've been doing. I'm good. Yeah. Everybody knows I'm good. That's great. Uh-huh. I can scratch my ass off. I can play great gigs and make nice beats. My problem is that I set the fucking bar so high for myself. I have to constantly do that, It sucks, man. Somebody was explaining this. I think it was like, I was watching some TED Talk or something, but it's like, once Superman shows up as Superman, motherfucker always has to be Superman.
Right.
You can't just walk around as Clark Kent anymore.
You don't get a day off.
Yeah, it's like, you better show up as Superman. So that kind of sucks, for me because, there's this thing that comes attached to me, it's like, I'm Mr. Hip Hop, I'm dope DJ, great scratching, excellent production. Like, I can't slack off in any area because people expect what I would expect from other people. So
if you have an off night and people came to see you,
I better have some standard. My standard better be gold standard next to somebody else's.
Right.
So, Not to say that I don't like it. I've been doing this for so long that it's so easy for me to push the limit. You know?
Oh, it feels like you like it.
You know, I love it.
It's great.
I'm comfortable out of my comfort zone. You know, I operate better under pressure,
That's everything.
under the goals that I got for myself. So it's very good, but it's hard. I'm not gonna lie, it's hard. You know, trying to balance that with a family life is pretty tough too. You know.
For sure.
So
you were talking earlier about working with young kids.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's pretty clear what they get from you.
Mm-hmm.
What do you get from them?
Man, a lot of things, man. I get an edge that a lot of my peers don't get. I get an edge. I get a peek into a world that a lot of my peers don't get. I see where it's going before they do. I see where they're coming from.
Give me one peek. What's
so, you know, kind of what we were talking about earlier, you know, students that I work with in here privately or even in a group setting, you know, even it'll be just as simple as them mentioning an artist's name 3 or 4 times that I might not have heard of and no one else has heard of. I'll go do the research. Boom. I know about some shit that maybe nobody else knows about. That's how things happen.
Yeah.
You know, the Lil Pumps or the Ski Master Slump Gods of the world, you know. I knew about those a long time before mainstream America did because of YouTube kids. You know what I mean? So that's just one way. That's not the only way, but you know,
it's good.
They're doing things with the internet that a grown person's mind wouldn't think to do. But now they're showing me how to think like a 12-year-old all over again or a 15-year-old.
Yeah.
To say it's okay to do things as a grown person with that mentality has really changed the way I've operated in the last 2 or 3 years.
I think that's so important. I mean, especially in that environment of social media and all that, you know, that stuff is made for 15-year-olds.
Yeah, definitely.
And they're the ones that are going to be at the front, you know, the front edges of all that stuff. And so being able to spend time with those people on a daily basis.
Yeah, just see how they live and breathe in that world, you know, which is not to say unfamiliar to me, but they live in it in a completely different way. We, as older people, live in it because we are forced into it, you know? We're catching up.
Yeah.
We're always behind.
Yeah,
and I got tired of it, you know? So I started paying attention to it. I started asking why. And anytime they want to interrupt a lesson to watch some dumb shit on YouTube, I'm right there. I'm having a ball with them. Like, we just go off on a tangent. Whoa, check out this meme. Hey, have you heard of this guy? Nope. Let's go stop doing what we're doing and check out that artist or do whatever, because that's my job as a DJ, right?
Yeah.
It's to take their information and transfer it and put it through my megaphone, you know?
It's cool.
So, you know, and also incorporate that knowledge into how I can help myself still grow in the future as an artist and a musician, man, because I'm not just a DJ, you know? And I'm not just I don't make scratch music, you know? I make fucking hip hop music. Like, this is the music that I love and I live and I breathe it. And a lot of times people come in here, or even just people that know me from here, they don't know where I come from.
Sure.
You know what I mean? They don't know the history. They don't know what's attached to me. And, you know, they think I'm just the cool DJ instructor here. You know, that's not it.
Sure.
And, you know, I have to keep feeding that part of me, which is so much more important than this part of me. You know what I mean? So, because that part of me keeps me afloat. When shit gets rough, like you said, it gets exhausting.
Yeah.
But I know what I'm capable of, and that just kind of keeps pushing me forward.
Nice.
So.
All right, I got to do a little lightning round before we get out here.
All right.
So tell me one decision that changed your life forever.
Moving to Los Angeles in the mid-90s. That was just probably the biggest decision of my life at that time. And, you know, man, I mean, I hate to say it, but the rest is history after that, you know? Like, I don't know what the fuck I'd be doing if that didn't happen.
Yeah.
You know? So that's probably the biggest one.
Okay, complete this sentence for yourself.
Oh, God.
I don't have talent, I have blank.
I don't have talent. Now you're asking me to say this as if I was saying it?
Yeah.
That's hard, man. I don't have talent. I have an unstoppable will to succeed.
That's big. So if I worked for you, or we worked together, what's something that I would hear you say over and over?
I have an unstoppable will to. No, I'm just kidding. Slow down and take your time to get it right.
Who would you be most excited to learn is a fan of your work?
You know what's funny, man, is I always find out the weirdest people are fans of my work.
Oh, yeah?
People just come through the door. Like, I get clients from the entertainment business in here all the time, and music business, and they'll come in here with like albums for me to sign and shit, and it would surprise the shit out of me to find out that Donald Trump was a fan.
Yeah, that would be a surprise.
That would be, I think, the ultimate surprise, man.
Although he used to hang out with maybe not the underground, but he hung out with hip hop at one point in his life.
Yeah.
Those days are behind him.
Long behind him. But yeah, that would be, I don't know if there would be anyone that would surprise me more, or maybe if like the Dalai Lama.
Okay.
People like that, because you never know. That's one thing that I've learned, is that you never know. Because I've been on the radio shows, was on the air for 20 years and got syndicated and taped and bootlegged. I mean, my name got everywhere. Yeah. And then I have all these albums and projects and stuff, and I'm associated with so many different people. Some people will bring in stuff that I forgot I did like 15 years ago. And they're like, damn, I listened to this 1,000 times. So. Nice. Yeah, but if Donald Trump popped up.
Well, your name's definitely come up on the show. I think I've had 5 people mention you, and 2. Well, I'll tell you in a minute. I'm not gonna tell you that one.
All right.
What's your favorite city to travel to?
That's a good question. I don't know, man. I have 2. The first was Sydney.
Oh wow.
I've been there 10 times. Stayed there like weeks at a time, every time. Have really good friends. Great culture there. Art, it's beautiful. Amazing beaches. You can get in the car and be in the Blue Mountains in 2 hours. You can go caving. You can go. I mean, there's so much to do in Australia, Yeah. So yeah, Sydney, and I think Zurich, Switzerland, is also one of my favorites, because it's got the modern Swiss with the old European style, and it's very
a beautiful city.
You go to the old part of town, and it's just like, fuck, I'm back in the feudal Europe days,
Yeah.
But then you go across the town, and then there's like the most modern buildings being built. There's billions of dollars in banking being done over there, and it's like, it's super modern. It's also very beautiful. So, yeah, those are probably my 2 favorite cities.
Okay. What's the last great book you read?
The last great book I read was actually The Big Payback.
Oh yeah.
Dan Charnas.
Dan Charnas, we love Dan.
So, it's funny, I had known him for so long, and when he was writing that book, we were all just like, whatever, man, you're writing a book, whatever. And then when it came out, it was such a mammoth book.
Yeah.
I just didn't have the time to read it.
Right.
So years later, I get through it, and I'm just like, fuck, that is just a mind-blowing trip through my life. And I'm glad I didn't read it 10 years ago when it came out, because so much more has happened since that came out that makes me understand the things in that book a lot better. I have a greater insight to it now than I would have 10 years ago.
Oh, I got to go back to it. I got it on the shelf.
It's very, very interesting, because, I'm doing a lot of business for myself, starting companies, watching people come and go. Some of the people that are in that are, not here anymore on the planet, you know, so it was very interesting after the fact.
That's cool.
But it was an awesome book, though.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Amazing.
Thanks for the reminder.
Yeah, somebody reminded me about it. One of my students reminded me.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, oh shit, I know that guy.
Nice.
I need to go revisit that. So yeah, it was great.
What movie have you seen the most in your life?
Wow. I want to say, and my kids have helped me with this, because they just, no matter what generation, you can't get enough Raiders of the Lost Ark.
That's a great movie.
I mean,
it's fantastic.
I've been watching that since it came out. I remember seeing that in the theater, just
me too.
Mind blown. VHS came out, just wore it out to death, all the other ones. I was going to see them in like retro theaters when they would do like flashback dollar movies or whatever. I'd be there in the line checking out that. And now, first time I felt like my kid was able to grasp what was happening on the screen. I put him in front of it. It was like, meet Indiana Jones, and life changed. You know what I mean?
That's cool.
So yeah, I probably have watched that, and
that's a good one.
It might be another Spielberg movie. It might be The Goonies.
Okay.
After that.
Yeah.
So
it's fun.
Yeah.
Who's your favorite DJ?
It used to be an easy question, man, and that's a whole different conversation. But I don't know. I still think Jazzy Jeff is my favorite DJ. But it's close, man. Jazzy Jeff and Premier definitely are just a 1-2 punch for me, man, because they're the most influential DJs in my life. Number one, Jazzy Jeff for performing and innovation, making records at a time when nobody else was doing what he was doing, reinventing the wheel. And then, Premier around 1990 when he started to really invent the scratch hook.
Yeah.
That just changed my whole life.
Yeah.
It just blew me away, and to see him translate him being a part of a group that was already good and having him be a great DJ already, and then to have him go off and do his own separate production career was like, fuck, I need to be that guy. That's if you want to trace back where I'm from and why I do all the things that I do, it's because of those guys. I wanted to be Jazzy Jeff. Who does a DJ that's starting to DJ now want to be? That's the difference between me and the DJs that stop chasing down a dream.
Sure.
The DJs that are cool just working in a bar 3-4 nights a week and just, kicking back and getting a pet and chilling, Like, I'm not cool with that. I'm trying to still be Premier. I'm still trying to be Jazzy Jeff. I must be them. I have to be them, So those are, I don't know, I answered your question with 2 names, but if I had to name one, it would be Jeff.
Well, Jeff's been our number 1 answer for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it used to be a clear answer, like there was no question about that, but as I got older and have been able to do a variety of things because of how much of an influence Premier was on me, and only because of Premier. If it was only Jazzy Jeff, I would not be doing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I would not be the same DJ. So that's why I have to put him up there.
Well, 2 people have given you as their favorite DJ.
Nice.
XL.
Nice.
And Bishop Lamont.
Oh, nice. All right, cool. All right, well, that doesn't count. They're both my friends, but, I'll take it, man. It's great.
They had a lot of people to choose from.
No, I love it, man. I mean, it's definitely motivation. And again, this is why I have to keep doing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
When someone names you as their favorite anything, even if it's your, like, you're my favorite uncle, you better keep being a good fucking uncle.
That's right.
Because you don't want to have him show up one day and not be the favorite uncle anymore.
That's right.
That's a shitty feeling, man. So, to go from someone's favorite DJ to not their favorite DJ anymore, it seems like not much, but that's a far way to fall.
Yeah.
That is a long way to go down, and I'm not going down that road. So
it's so funny you said that. Not the same at all, but we did a live show recently, and I had Ali Shaheed Muhammad on stage, and the guy, my friend, introduced us, and he said, "This is Josh Levine, my favorite podcast," and
nice,
and like, it was equally amazing to hear, and also really uncomfortable.
Yeah,
because you're like, oh shit, now like I was just doing it. You know what I mean?
Right.
And now it's like, now I got something I'm supposed to live up to.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So how can you stop? And so the rocket must keep going. And so, like 10 years ago when I was putting out King of the Decks, Premier came on the Wake Up Show, and he was talking about me and how much he loved how I DJ'd and how I scratched and how my style and sound was so unmistakable. Yeah. And he could pick it out anywhere, and he was and I was his favorite. And I was like, okay, fuck. Now I got somewhere. Yeah. I broke ground.
Right.
And and then So I'm like, okay, I need to take that and use that as fuel.
Makes
so
you
I
wanna
took
go
that
harder.
segment from the show, put it on the album, and scratched him saying that on a beat.
Yeah.
That fast forward about 9 months after the album came out, my album was number 1 on his top 20 list for that year when it came out.
Incredible.
So that's why I can't stop, because I need to keep having moments like that.
Yeah.
You guys can have Coachella be your moment, you know? You can, I made it to Coachella, I played it, I need to have my fucking favorite DJs and my idols tell me that I'm doing the right shit. I put out music that they can bump, that they think is dope. You know, that I'm having a bigger impact than, because to me, I played a lot of bigger festivals. Before festivals were cool here, I was doing them in Europe.
Yeah.
And you get great satisfaction from the energy that you're hearing and feeling from the crowd, but if they don't really know who you are, it's replaceable.
Yeah.
They might not even remember you or your name unless you did something fucking amazing.
Yeah. They just remember they had a good time.
Right. Yeah. And that's cool. I didn't get into this for that. I got into this because I'm good enough that I need to make you remember me. Remember my music, remember my style, remember what I said, you know, the same way that Jazzy Jeff and Premier and Scratch and all the people that I grew up idolizing did to me. I still teach people that are beginning their DJ careers and their scratching careers or whatever it is that you want to call it, stuff that these guys were doing in 87, 88, 90, 90, 91, and these people can't come close to it. So I need to last. I need to be in the history books. So, you know, when my favorite DJs can tell me that I'm their favorite, you know, I got Jazzy Jeff's signature on my, like, this wall of fame that I got in my studio, and his manager at the time also signed it, and he signed it as "Peace to my favorite DJ's favorite DJ." Yeah. So that to me, you know, to have those little moments like that where it's like, oh shit.
Yeah, that's big.
You know, when the first time I met Jeff was when I went to a studio in Philly, and I went to a studio, we're hanging out, I was still in awe, you know. He showed me his like DMC New Music Seminar plaques and all that shit, and I was just like, I was a fanboy moment. Then we got in his car, and my album was in his car playing on his favorite song.
Amazing.
So shit like that makes me keep going.
Yeah, that's
when
fuel.
you say it's exhausting, it's never exhausting enough for me to stop
fuel.
that. You know, so
yeah.
Anyway,
Rev, man, I appreciate you. This was fun.
Yeah, long-winded answers, man.
No, that's great. Thank you for doing this.
Oh man, my pleasure, man. I'm glad I can talk about it. It definitely helps to, you know, get all this stuff, you know, clean out the closet space. You know what I mean? Just get it out in the open.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, talk to
sure.
somebody that knows about it and has been down with it forever, and you know, knows the same people in my circle, and you know, we all have the same kind of common ground, you know. So anytime that there's an opportunity for me to do that, plus I know, you know, people fuck with what you're doing, and you know, it's important for me to not just be here speaking my mind to a, you know, this closed off world here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I mean, I get to do it on the radio a lot. You know, I got 2 radio shows, but I don't do a lot of talking on those shows.
Sure.
So
yeah,
this is fun, man.
That's cool, man.
Good shit.
Appreciate it. If people want to stay up with you, how do they find you?
You can go to thecutspace.com. That's where you can download and stream all my podcasts from The Cut. Got some big things in the works with that. Probably going to end up taking it somewhere else to a bigger platform. You can listen to Shade 45 every Monday night at 7 p.m. Cali time, and New York time on Thursday right before Sway show in the morning.
Nice.
Instagram is just DJ Revolution. Twitter's the same thing. Yeah, I mean, I'm just, you know, or you can just walk in the door at Scratch over there and just come chop it up with me, man.
That's right. Come into Scratch Academy, get schooled.
Get tested, man. Get tested and see where you're at.
I love it. Shout out DJ Revolution. I hope you enjoyed that one. I know I did. Leave us a review on iTunes, some comments on Twitter or Facebook. It's at Rebel Radio Net. Make sure you check out our YouTube page for video snippets from all of our episodes. And most importantly, come back next week for more Rebel Radio. Peace.